You've tuned in to chipsgrooveradio with your hosts, Mike and Jon.
So why did you mail me a rooster mask?
I thought you would. I thought you'd need to be prepared for what's coming.
Oh, okay. You left me this.
I need you to do a job.
Strange message of take care of a problem at a certain address. I was a little confused here.
Well, yeah, you need to watch the kids at 310, whatever in Miami.
It's a little disturbing, John.
Hey, well, you know, a job's a job.
Yeah. Do you have anger issues? No.
I don't know, Mike.
Well, this soundtrack will definitely bring it out in people because this is quite a different soundtrack, but it's really fun to listen to. We're talking about Hotline Miami this week, and John, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I mean, Hotline Miami, a game by Devolver. It's a top-down, action-packed. How would you describe it? It's kind of like a tactical combat game, except there's no tactics, and you just bash doors open and shoot people in the face.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's very high action. Like I said, top down. It's like kind of reminds you of the old GTA games. GTA and GTA 2, I think, were both top down. Kind of has that vibe. But yeah, it has a very weird. It's not really a storyline. It's just a weird feeling you get from everything. It feels very drug addled. It feels very Miami.
Yeah,
and the music is just amazing.
It's poppin', man. And it takes you places. There are many twists and turns on this album, and I really, really am enjoying the move from like synthwave to 80s action films. There's like a really different end of the spectrum that it goes at times, and I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the actual album, the artists in the album, there's about 9 of them.
Yeah.
So I'll just quickly spot them off. But Coconuts, Eric Sukri,
I'm going to guess.
El Huevo, Elliot Berlin, Jasper Byrne, Moon, Perturbator, Scattle, and Sun Ara. And of those, so I played a little bit of this game, and I actually started replaying it because we were going to talk about it. And it is a very fun game because it's just quick in and out. You kind of have to solve problems on the fly. You jump in and you have this mission to do, and you can kind of replay because there's no real no penalty for dying. You just have to replay the level you're on, but it's so fast you don't really mind it.
Yeah,
so you come up with these cool strategies and tactics, and it's really neat.
It looked like the gameplay was very just fast. There's no thinking about it. You just go in for it. Very little, like you said, tactics. It's just, how do I dodge bullets long enough to kill my victims? But it looks very fun.
You can play it a bit stealthy, and you can play it a bit actiony. But in some games, that gulf between a stealth run and a more action in your face run is pretty wide. Whereas the gulf in Hotline Miami, it's pretty narrow. It's like the stealth game is pretty actiony, and it's not like that much different than the go in there guns a-blazing.
Now, do the missions change at all, or is it only kill everything on screen? Which is fine.
Good question.
But
I think it is just kill everyone on screen. There might be different missions that get more into the story, quote unquote story of it. I actually haven't beaten it. I'm terrible. I never beat games, so
I'm with you.
I have 1,000 games in Steam library and probably beat a good 5% of those.
Exactly.
But for the first part of it, you are just going in there. You get a job. You go in, kill everybody, and get out. And you get new powers. You get new weapons. But throughout the entire thing, you have this amazing soundtrack that kind of pumps you along. I actually bought the Moon album based on the soundtrack because all the songs that Moon has on there, like Hydrogen, Paris, all those are on his album, the vinyl, and
That's awesome.
I just loved him.
Yeah. So many artists contributing to this. It's surprising that it stays as impactful as it does. I think that's always a feat. And when you've got 9 artists or more, actually, because there are a couple duos, but it just blows my mind that they're able to put such a cohesive product together, yet all get their own creative juices in there. It's very fun for me.
Yeah, I think it does a great job of, like, there was a definite direction of the album, and I don't know how many of the tracks were written for the game and how many they just handpicked from the artist, but it all feels like they were all in a room together. Everyone got the idea of what this game was and how to push the player along through the album, and it all clicked in their own little way, but they all clicked.
Yeah.
Like Moon has very synth heavy, kind of that bass beat going tracks, but then you get like the Silver Light song, which is a bit more weird, grunge, kind of psychedelic type of track as well. So, but it still has that same dirt and grunge to it that the rest of the songs do.
Yeah, it does feel like all these songs, or at least a running theme, is not only the 80s, obviously, but that dirty sound to it. There's a quality to this album that I always felt like it was very dreamlike. It just takes you places, man.
Yeah.
And I don't do drugs, but I can imagine listening to this soundtrack on drugs would be something. So.
Yeah, I bet. And yeah, it with that dreamlike state, you also have a lot of that action packed, feeling to it. That because the game is so fast.
Oh yeah,
you need to have the audio kind of follow along with it. It does a really good job doing that.
Yeah, well, with songs like Vengeance, it really amps you up with that steadfast and thumping beat. That synthesizer melody really reminds me of old B-action movies with that really punchy, intense bass synthesizer in there. It even has an element of the first Terminator. So I was like, okay, I'm feeling the song. There's a real drive to it that I really enjoy. And it even comes with a brief section in the song that reminds me of a trance wave. Very delicate, fluttering keys, but it's brief, and it maintains that pace throughout a majority of the song. So I think there are songs, like we were saying, that are very mellow, very synthwave, and this takes you in a very different direction, which is a lot more fast paced. And
yeah, it definitely is the most like 80s action music that you can just imagine this being in an 80s action movie, and it still has that underlying grunge and dirt to it, especially with the really like that dirty synth bass and the dirty synth on top of it that really drives it along. But it does feel like you're Arnold Schwarzenegger running through a jungle.
Oh man, I just like the aesthetic of this record, where it's set against this backdrop of vibrant colors and flashy point scores. If you're playing the game, it's just a drug-fueled nightmare, complete with I was watching some long plays, and it's got these BoJack Horseman-esque masks that they're wearing, and it's very disturbing. And the art style, like you said, is pixel, and it's disturbingly crude when it comes to character portraits. It's very surreal and that's why I think it just adds to that dreamlike state that I was talking about. I think it's a very cohesive product. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, anyone who's not wearing a mask, like you got the guy who pays you.
Mm-hmm.
He's always at a different job that is like, oh, in the pizza box is your payment or whatever. He's a very like weird, like grungy looking dude. And then all the characters with masks on are just, it's an odd, like they're in this like conference room surrounding you, telling you what to do, and you wear their masks and you get some power from it. It's just so weird and esoteric, but it's a blast.
Yeah.
And like really that the track that kind of feeds into that drug addled is Silver Lights. It's just that weird kind of grungy guitar. It's probably
it's very dense with that bass.
Yeah, it's in the sound. It's a big sound wave, kind of like in your face track.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of meanders along with that single scratched note on the guitar throughout the entire thing that just goes. It just waves back and forth in your brain, and then that kind of unintelligible vocals like hemming in the background. Kind of, you're in that trance-like state.
Yeah,
high off your ass on LSD.
It's very, very trippy and very like something bad is happening on screen. Almost not necessarily Big Lebowski, but I'm just gonna say there are those moments where that screeching guitar just is painting a picture that's very ominous, and drugs are everywhere in this song.
Yeah, you feel like you've stepped into a murder scene and you are high off your ass and viewing this murder scene in the most insane way possible.
The world is swirling around you.
Yeah. And it's a great slow down track from the other songs where most of the other ones are high paced and action oriented. And this is kind of letting you stew in that altered state.
Yeah. It's quite a change from the rest of the album, but it's again, keeping with that motif of dreamlike and nightmare-inducing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One song that stuck out to me personally was Knock Knock. It's a lot funkier than perhaps most of the other songs on here. I think it's just got a really pulsing synth, a crisp beat, and a bright keyboard that really brings a desperation to the album. What this song does for me personally is transport me into that dream state, and it just feels like nightmare fuel. You're trapped in this world, and the violence is overwhelming. there's a really surreal nature to the song with the synth that just, it keeps me uneasy. I don't know about you, but it's one of the wonderful things about music like this, the ability to really warp your sense of reality. And I think they capture that really well here, because the game itself just feels, and again, I don't know 100% the story, but it feels like it's in your head.
Yeah, it definitely has that feeling of, are you actually committing all these murders and going in and knocking down doors or whatever? Or are you just lying on your couch imagining this? And Knock Knock is a great example of a track that is a lot more techno and funk than maybe synthwave, and it has that warbling synth that kind of is keeping you in that dreamlike state throughout the entire time. Yeah, it just kind
of feels like hills going up and down, pulsing the whole time the song's on. Yeah. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's a super neat track. And in terms of tracks that really get your blood pumping, I love Hydrogen. I love all the Moon tracks on this. That's why I bought the album. But Hydrogen in Paris, but Hydrogen kind of stuck out to me as being kind of the kind of unofficial theme song for this game.
I would agree with that completely.
I love how it just, you can imagine you're this guy, and maybe it's the first mission, and you're not in too deep yet, and you're standing outside this building, and this first part of it is just thinking about what you're about to do, and it just builds up. You get to the first floor, you knock your first guy out, then you climb up to the second floor, and it's filled with bad guys. And everything is just building and building. It's just layers of tension, that high-pitched synth that goes... It just gets you on your nerves, and with each instrument that comes in, it's just like nervous energy. And it kind of fits with that twitchy style that you have of combat, where you're moving and you're running, and you're stopping, and you're trying to hit the other guy before he hits you.
The slow build is really good in this song, and it's that really clean, unlike a lot of the other songs on the album. It's very clean bass. It's very punchy, very snappy, and you can feel, like you're saying, that pressure building. You know, the mission is slowly escalating. You're psyching yourself up before it, and then as more instruments come in and that shrill synthesizer comes in, you're moving with a quickness you didn't know you had, that kind of thing, and you're taking out your enemies one by one and dodging gunfire. I think it really fits this album very well.
Yeah. And like when a lot of the other instruments drop away, it's just you're like waiting at the door, waiting for a perfect moment to bash the door in and hit the guard. And then the high note stays, but some of the instruments drop away as you're kind of waiting. And then at the end, it just devolves as you get the job done. Everything's warping, and it just gets darker and grungier at the end, as if you've like realized what you're coming down from the adrenaline high, and you realize what you did.
That's great, because for the majority of the song, there is that really cool, badass. There's a confidence to it, right?
Yeah,
you're full of yourself. You're high on adrenaline, and then you come down at the end, and it's like, what did I just do?
What have I done?
I'm a terrible person. Very apropos, I think. The source material, the soundtrack, does offer elements that remind me personally of chiptunes in places. And I would have to mention a song like Paris, which has a
I love Paris.
Very bass heavy melody. It's reminiscent of old NES titles. As you progress through the game, the gameplay doesn't change a whole lot, but the music keeps everything upbeat and driven. The goal's clear. The music only amplifies your desire to commit horrible acts of violence on these thugs. And the muted, thick thwacks of your fists and bats against the skulls of your enemies only serve to strengthen the beat of any accompanying song on the record. But yeah. Paris really does it for me.
Yeah, the low kind of bass synth that you get, it's very grungy and it's a little funky, but then you have that hi-hat coming in. It's another track that is very high energy. It also has those moments where it slows down, a lot of the other instruments drop away. That moment of thinking, that moment of sitting behind a door and waiting to bash in. It's another Moon track, and it's probably the other reason why I bought the album. It's another great song that really amplifies the game and the gameplay itself.
Yeah, you just walk around these levels, and you know your enemies are all sharply dressed in white suits. There are tiger skin rugs covering the floors and neon accents of the. It's just a very vibrant and brilliant game to the point where everything is like a stereotype of the 80s and the cocaine-induced mayhem that goes on. And this song, Paris, is just a really subdued, bass-heavy song that just keeps you moving. And I think it's just a great backdrop for what you're actually doing in game, which is tough, but it's good.
A lot of tracks are kind of over the action where they're driving you. Paris is kind of lays underneath, and you can feel that in the bass and where a lot of times the track drops away. It's more of a baseline for what you're doing, whereas some of the other tracks like Hydrogen or like Knock Knock or any of the other ones are over it. You're listening to the song as you're the guy, you have it in your headphones as you're going in and murdering everybody.
Yeah. Kind of like Baby Driver, only you're just killing people.
Yeah.
Just put those headphones in and whip out your baseball bat, because
that's right.
Some people need punishing. You know, they should turn this into a TV show. Are they thinking about that? Because this would be the most ridiculous TV show ever.
And just going further and further off the deep end of like, what the hell am I doing? What are these guys in masks?
What is this show about? I can't tell. Well, they're making a Twisted Metal TV show, which I think is ridiculous. It's almost done.
Kind of silly. Really?
I
don't know about that one.
I don't know what they're going to do with that, but whatever. But if they can make a show about that, they can make a show about this.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it really is a Devolver, synthesized. This is a Devolver game through and through, and I mean, they knocked it out of the park. The game is super fun. I'm mad at myself that it's so fun because it's fast in and out. You can play it for half an hour and get through a couple levels and then get out and listen. You were listening to cool music and you were playing a game that was pretty twitchy and fun. But and I'm kind of mad that I never beat the game, but that's just the way I am. But going back and replaying it after a while made me want to continue playing it because it's a super fun game.
Yeah, I was watching some long plays of it, and just the fast pace of it, the aesthetic and the music combined just really offers this at least watching it, it was just a very fun and exciting experience because you can just, like you had said at the beginning, it's in and out. The levels are fairly short, but you can master it pretty quickly, or at least I feel like you could. And the action never feels like it's off the table for long. And I think that's one of the draws for a lot of people is, one, loading times is not much of a thing here. So the fact that you can dip in and out of levels really quickly it's a draw for me.
And the other thing of like, if you die, you're immediately respawned. It takes 2 seconds to get back into it. So like replaying the level over and over, because a lot of the levels are pretty hard, it has that like, the gameplay is very simple to some extent, but the learning curve for each level has its own learning curve. So some can be steeper than others. So you have that challenge there. And then, you're listening to the music the entire time. So you're pumped up to keep trying over and over again.
Yeah.
It really helps with that.
Yeah, I think the developers had a very clear design goal in mind, and everything in this game it's just vibrant, rigid, and bold. So, as you're murdering the bad guys, their blood is smearing everywhere. The colors are getting more and more vibrant with score flashing and shit like that. You're painting apartment building. The blood is everywhere in this game. It's just got this sharp red to it that I thought was really cool. And I felt like it was more of a throwback to the 80s in itself. You're painting the walls with these vibrant colors that already have vibrant colors all over them.
Right.
But one aspect I really wanted to talk about was once any level is complete, the music changes to this single atonal dark note that casts this shadow over your actions as you loot the buildings filled with fresh corpses. It's like it's beckoning you to think about what you're doing.
Right.
It's unbelievable. And then that's all washed away once you make it back to your car as a cool synthwave track hits your ears.
Yeah, everything's fine.
It displays your score, and it's commending you on how brutal and clever you were in clearing the stage.
You did it.
You did
Congratulations.
it. Yay. And then the scenery is like passing by like you're driving down the coast or something. It's like, what the fuck is happening here?
So weird.
The message is changing.
Yeah, it's And the other weird thing is like you go back to your apartment and your character has cut out all the murders from the newspaper that are like, and they're just strewn about the apartment. So you can like click on them and you see like 9 dead in an apartment or whatever. And it's like, this guy's been clipping out like his murders and putting them all throughout his apartment.
Yeah. There's a strange power in the soundtrack to cleanse the sins of this game. So while you're murdering people without a second thought over and over, the soundtrack really just chugs on and keeps you focused and relaxed. And for such a violent game, the soundtrack really is beautifully crafted, and I think every artist adds a signature element to it that it just adds to the depth but keeps the pace of the game, and it wafts between synthwave and funk and that action tone, but always manages to stay on target as you bring endless mayhem.
endless
mayhem. Are there shopping elements in this game too?
I don't think so. So at the end of a mission, you'll have a little vignette where you go to a store or whatever.
Okay, that's
but it's mostly you pick up your payment. And it's always the same guy who's working like at the pizza shop or the video rental or whatever. So I don't know like if it expands from there, but yeah, those are kind of the shopping scenes.
Okay. So that's what I was watching.
Yeah.
But I think in those scenes as well, the soundtrack almost verges on lounge music or very chill and extremely reminiscent of late night crummy gas station browsing that you're obviously doing.
Yeah.
Your apartment also feels dreamlike itself with that bubbling wave and those howling tones. It's very, very weird. Again, ominous. There are those moments like when you finish killing every bad guy in a level where the soundtrack takes a dip and gets a little bit more real, I guess is the way to put it. A little more intense.
You have that music pumping in your head, and then you're done, and there's that come down, and everything is a bit more real.
Yeah, it manages to capture some of the darker elements of the 80s, the boldness and excesses of the time to complement the action on screen. It's a good
100%.
Good time. Yeah. So give me some of your final thoughts on this album. How are you feeling about it? This album.
I mean, I love this album. I think it goes to show that I probably remember this album more than I remember the game. I know I bought music from it. Obviously, I bought the Moon album from it, and I barely played the game. I probably played it for like an hour or so. So it's just a great album, just for that simple. If you need to get pumped up through synthwave, you kind of want to listen to some weird music, and you're in that weird mood. It's just you pop it on and you go. It's amazing.
It does have a quality that we talk about sometimes, where you can just put this on and listen to it, unlike some other albums. And it's one of those things I could find myself listening to on a quiet day at home or driving down the road. Probably better for driving, but
this is amazing driving music.
Is it?
Yeah.
Done it some, have you? Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't have too much else to say about this album. It's just extremely powerful, and it takes you places, and it's very fun when that happens for me. I'm sure plenty of music lovers out there love to put their headphones on and just zone out. And this is a great album to do that with, because with the spectrum of lounge music, synthwave, and all the way over to 80s action flick, it covers all those bases of the 80s. And I think there's a very powerful message in this soundtrack, not only because of the base material, but because it all stays cohesive, even though that spectrum is so big. And I think all the artists did such a great job here to, whether or not they were just plucked songs from their library or not, it fits. And the mood wafts from dark to punchy and exciting, but it still has that overtone of what the fuck is happening? Is this a nightmare? So overall, very cohesive product. I very much recommend this album. And I looked it up. Let's see. Laced Records did a release that's extremely gorgeous. The vinyl set they released a while ago. Unfortunately, it is sold out at this point, but you can buy it on Steam for $9.99, which is a great price for this album. I would recommend everyone do that, because this is just quite a listen to have.
Yeah, 100%.
What would you rate this soundtrack, sir?
I mean, I'd have to give it 10 chicken masks out of 10, because it's just amazing. It's an amazing album.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 10 baseball bats out of 10, because there is nothing quite like the sound of that thunking in this game when you're smacking the shit out of someone.
Yeah.
Gotta love
100%.
it. It goes very well with the music of this soundtrack and makes you question your own motives in life.
What am I doing?
Why am I getting so turned on by this right now? But yeah, that is Hotline Miami. I thank everyone for listening. And John, if you would like to say goodbye, please do so.
I'll see you in your dreams.
I'm going to go do some cocaine.
A little LSD, a little acid.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and subscribe on your podcast app of choice. Also, check out Magus Media's other podcast, This Is Not Happening, Another X-Files podcast, for complete episode breakdowns, insightful banter, and inane babble. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Well, hello there, Internet people. My name is Josh, and I am one of the hosts of the Nastagram RPG podcast. We're an actual play podcast, and we're good. And why are we good? Well, let's let the other host tell you. Dan.
Hey, everyone. If you like authentic, real-world sound effects, our lasers go pew-pew.
I love it. Matt.
Skip me.
Coming back to Matt.
Ryan.
Okay, so after 2 decades of trying, we finally mastered the 3.5 grapple.
We're not doing that.
We certainly did
Never
not.
mind.
Try
Scratch
again.
that. Scratch
Scratch
that.
that.
Look it up.
John.
If you're looking for a RPG podcast that plays a whole hell of a lot of games, you like to spice the life.
Spice it up.
Spice it up.
Matt, you ready?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. If you enjoy bad accents and overacting, you'll enjoy our podcast.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
And Jake, bring us home.
I like to just say we didn't just throw a phone on the table and hit record. Like, Josh does a damn good job with the editing. And
Facts.
if you care about that, you will not be disappointed.
That's right. We spent a bunch of money that we don't make on the podcast.
100%.
So check us out, Nastagram RPG Podcast. You can find us on all the goddamn podcast apps, and we'll see you there.
That's nasty.